Hi everyone, it's Nicole. Welcome back to my channel and another paper crafting video tutorial. Today we're going to create a holly jolly little birdie scene card using products from the Simon Says Stamp November 2025 release. We're going to start with one of my favorite products from the release, which is the wonderful new Holly Jolly Sentiment Set. This easy layering set creates this amazing large Holly Jolly greeting that really is a showstopper on a card. To start, I am stamping my base color with Apple Positively Saturated ink, and then we're going to do the shadow one shade darker in the color Cranberry. The shade, or pardon me, the shadow, kind of that block design, is just a slightly darker color for that, and because I really wanted to keep it red. And I absolutely love how it looks on craft cardstock. Now, the other reason I did my stamping, on craft cardstock is because the base of my card today is going to be craft. So it's going to have a little bit more of that primitive type of look and feel, even though we're using pretty cute or more modern type of images. So I have embossed my background here using a brand new embossing folder from Simon Says Stamp called Wispy Pine Needle Frame. And once I've done that, I'm going to take my white pigment ink, and we need to have snowy pine branches, of course, for our Christmassy themed card. So I'm going to gently rub this over the embossed areas of my card. If some of that white pigment ink gets on other areas, that's okay. The snow effect, it's going to lighten, and we're going to probably cover up most of that anyway. And I really just want to draw out the pine needle design. After we have the pine needles and sentiment kind of where we want them to go, it is time to die cut all of the pieces for this card and bring it all together. To bring it together today, I am combining the brand new Birdies Winter Accessories with one of my favorite die sets released within this last year called Birdies. I love that Simon Says Stamp has brought out accessories for these birdies to make them Christmassy or winter themed. Because remember, you could totally use any of these little birdies and create wintry themed cards for January and beyond. So what I'm doing now is assembling the lights that go on the strand of lights. We are definitely utilizing both the dies from Birdies and from the add-ons for this. My vision for this card was that the Holly Jolly is going to be centered in that opening in our Wispy Pine Needle kind of frame, if you will. And now that we're placing our sentiment on the background, it's really evident that that craft kind of helps blend into our background color of our paper, our cardstock. The sentiment is sitting right above our branch, and I'm going to have it kind of coming in here from the right side, and then we're going to hang the string of lights to the branch. Basically, we're building our layers first. Then we're going to have two birdies on either side of our sentiment, almost framing up the sentiment, if you will. And then we're going to balance it out, plus add some height by adding another birdie kind of nested into the H and the O from Holly Jolly. So now that I've kind of explained my thought process, we're going to start building our scene. And of course, I couldn't keep it super simple. I decided we needed to add some inking to our cardstock pieces for this card. The birdies are all die cut from an ivory color of cardstock, and we're going to be inking those with gingerbread Simon Says Stamp Positively Saturated ink. The leaves for the little holly berries and leaves, the leaves for those are all die cut from Concord and Ninth Grasshopper cardstock and Hero Arts Palm cardstock and inked with Simon Says Stamp Pine ink. I ended up die cutting quite a few more leaves and berries than what I originally started with. This was an instance of more is more instead of less is more. I got to near the end and felt like the birdie up at the top needed to be sitting in a bed of leaves. And then I did want kind of each of those smaller branches coming down to feature some little leaves. Once I get this string of lights and all of the little Christmas bulbs on there and get my 2 birds on either side, it really became evident kind of where my holes were, where I might have been missing some things. So now I've assembled my Christmas bulbs there before I kind of started putting it all together. There is a very teeny tiny little die that you can use to make the top of the Christmas light bulbs. And I did die cut that from some matte gold cardstock and then glued it to my glittery light bulbs. So all of the bulbs are either a red glitter or white glitter cardstock. And I like that little bit of texture here, as I feel like it really differentiates our bulbs from all of the other things going on. I kept my color palette very traditional Christmas, so reds, greens, and whites. As we start building our lights, and just as a side note, you could totally use this string of lights in lots of different ways. It would not even need to be used with the branch or with the birds at all. So keep that in mind. I like to always talk about shopping your stash. The other fun thing I wanted to note is you get the holly berries and leaves. And funny enough, I created another project, my November Making the Cup project that will be on the Simon Says Stamp YouTube channel. And I was looking for a little holly berries and leaves to add to that particular project. And I went with something else because I had created that project before I created this one, forgetting, because this was a new set, I didn't really have it on the forefront of my mind, forgetting that this set had those in there. I even went through all of my Simon Says Stamp Christmas and winter dies, and I didn't really see something in the right size and scale for what I was doing, but lo and behold, here it is. So my point being, there are some really great basics in this add-on set. Even the Santa hats and the stocking caps, these could be used with other images. So definitely play around with them and see what you can do. Now it's starting to really come together. We're starting to build out all of this. Now, one thing I didn't do that I had thought about, and I thought about doing before I kind of got to this point, I had thought about doing some white spatter on this card, and ultimately I decided not to, and I decided at the end we're going to add some opal Positively Dazzling gems instead that are going to kind of mimic that snowy type of feeling. We use the white ink over the embossed area, so it definitely gives that snowy vibe. I just wasn't feeling the distress, and sometimes you're not, and that's totally okay. After I've inked up my little birdie with the gingerbread ink on the ivory cardstock, I did add a little pink cheek using pastel pink ink from Simon Says Stamp. I love that little pink cheek. Just the hint of the pink cheek does it for me. I think it's so cute. Then we're going to build, of course, the scarf and the hat. All of the colors are going to be replicated here, so all reds and greens, and even a little bit of white glitter for brims and poms on hats in a couple of places. And I really love how they end up framing up this sentiment. So while I'm working on inking up and gluing these pieces together, let's talk a little bit about trying to make things work that are not working. Sometimes all you need to do is to change the orientation of your card. I was trying to make a portrait style card the entire time. I was trying to make all of these different elements work with this embossing folder background, and kind of by a fluke, I already had my embossed background done and my sentiment stamped and die cut. And I had turned it on its side and I kind of just tossed down the sentiment on top. And that one small thing, I was like, oh, this is how it should go. Sometimes you have to let go of what you have in your mind that you think is going to work and let it naturally take shape. For me, I was really trying to force something, and it can be something so simple, just like turning your cardstock and your background around. The minute I turned it, this whole thing came together so quickly. Other than the time it took to kind of ink and assemble, this was not a super difficult card to achieve, but the results are amazing, and it would look amazing in many different colors. So I want to talk also about a couple of additional ideas for that background. Let's say you want to change up your colors. You could emboss the Wispy Pine Needle embossing folder in green cardstock, flip it over, use the debossed side, do the blackout technique with any kind of ink you want. It doesn't necessarily have to be black. And then definitely, if I did do a darker color, I likely would spatter it with a little bit of snow just to help with that snowy feel. But then you're going to be left with green pine needles, which would be very fun. The other thing you could do is you could change this into any color combination you like. I do think that would be fun. The new rounded tags from this November release would be fantastic for this holly jolly sentiment. Maybe you add one birdie to it. You could make this really kind of elaborate decorative tag that would be perfect if you've got a special gift to give someone. So kind of a matching tag and a card, if you will. And of course, these birdies are adorable with all kinds of different sentiment stamp sets and beyond. Just really, really awesome pieces that I think are going to be great to build on in your stash. Okay, so a little bit of brick ink is what I'm using on the red. I'm using pine ink on either of my greens, whether it's the grasshopper cardstock or palm cardstock. I did not ink the branch that they're standing on at all. It's from the Spellbinders Truffle cardstock, and I just didn't feel like I needed to add anything to darken it. It's pretty tiny, and it's really covered up with a lot of stuff going on. Building these little birdies and their costumes was probably my favorite part of this card. I really enjoyed it. At first, I was slightly overwhelmed just by the number of little small dies, and I know you're thinking, I've seen you use way more tiny dies, Nicole. This is true. But I originally once I had all these pieces, I was like, oh, this is going to be a slog to put together. It actually wasn't. It was very enjoyable. And I had a great time. Now, eyes for the birdies. There is a die that comes in the Birdies set that die cuts two eyes. I was going to say one is big and one is small, but let's be real, they're both pretty small. One is slightly larger than the other. You can choose which ones you want to put on which birds. I obviously had 3 birds, so I did need to die cut it twice. I ended up with 4 eyes here. You can use gems if you want to, and many times I do choose to use gems. This time, however, I chose not to. I really loved the die cut look. Also influenced by my Making the Cut project for this month, where I let the cardstock be the eyes. It just kind of depends on my mood that day. So nothing wrong with either one, and you could also draw in an eye with a black pen or a black jelly roll pen if you wanted. Okay, so now we are getting to the end. This little beak was so tiny. I have glue everywhere. I have ink everywhere. We're going to get this birdie popped on our card. We're going to clean this up. Off camera, I am going to die cut more leaves, more berries, and then I tuck those all in place. I'm adding the eye that we just discussed, and we do need to finish our sentiment. Now, I do want to talk about the sentiment just for a minute. I originally thought I would stamp the remaining parts of this sentiment in black ink. I went so far as to get my black ink out. I laid out my sentiments, and as I was looking at this right before I stamped them, I thought, I think that is not the right call for this card. I think if I stamp those with black ink, it's going to stand out. And I really felt like white ink would flow nicer with the rest of the card here. I stamped and embossed the phrase and the word Christmas on craft cardstock, that Nina Desert Storm cardstock, with embossing ink, heat embossed with white embossing powder, die cut with the coordinating dies. And because these dies die cut so nice and close to the actual sentiment, I did not feel bad about having extra sentiment slightly overlap the word jolly at all. In fact, I think it looks amazing. So up at the top, I placed have a, and then it of course says holly jolly and Christmas. I love how this turned out. It's so cute and fun. Now remember, I didn't spatter my background with white, so now I am going to use those positively dazzling gems in the color opal. I felt like these looked the most snowy, but I think clear would also be super cute. Or if you like a little bit more distress, spatter away. I'm going to add all of these little dabs of glue, use my embellishment wand to easily pick up all of these gems and pop them in place, glue the entire panel, which is A2 sized, 4¼ by 5½ inches, to a white side fold card base. And then I did go in with a white jelly roll pen, and we're going to add a few little highlights, especially to things like the eyes and the accessories. So first up, I did add those white highlights to the eyes. We're going to make sure that all of the scarves have a little bit of highlight, the hats as well. If you want, you could take this opportunity to even give the accessories a pattern like stripes or polka dots. I didn't this time, but I often will do that because I really think it's a cute look. I even added a few white highlights to the leaves just to kind of round it all out. This ended up being an absolutely adorable card. I love these new products so much, and I especially love that the Birdies accessories are a wonderful add-on to the original Birdies die set. Thank you guys so much for joining me today for this Holly Jolly Birdies Christmas card featuring Simon Says Stamp products from the November 2025 release. The supplies I used to create my card are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Thank you so much for joining me today. I truly love sharing creativity with this amazing community of crafters. A special thank you goes out to my wonderful Patreon members. I appreciate you all so much. If you'd like to join us on Patreon, you'll find the link in the video description below. Patreon is a private community where you can support more of what I do and enjoy exclusive content, behind the scenes updates, and extra perks. There's something for everyone, and we'd love to have you join our growing community. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel, click that like button, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss a new video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.